Come with me if you want to invest.
Folks, welcome to another edition of Real Estate Experts. As always, I'm your host, Glenn Twiddle, bringing you leading experts from around the country and around the world to help you, the Australian home seller, traverse the minefield that is the Australian real estate industry. And today I'm really honoured. I've known this real estate agent for over a decade. Back when I used to do some coaching, I met Redmond Howe, and in that decade, he has become an absolute dominant force in his area, has served countless hundreds and hundreds of home sellers like yourself get from point A to point B and do it in a really profitable manner. So we're in very, very good hands with Redmond Howe. Red, mate, thanks for hanging out for the day, my man.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Glenn.
Mate, it has been a long journey. And tell us, as someone, because I met you again over a decade ago in your office there, tell us how that journey's sort of gone through, you know, those rookie days through to now where you've got so many people owing their financial successes to you.
Yeah, no, it's been a wild journey, if that. So 10 years ago, started as a trainee, completed a real estate traineeship, which is, I don't even know if they do those anymore. And then slowly worked my way up the ranks and then launched my own company 4 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, no, it's been incredible.
And it started as almost, because I remember when you did launch your company, I thought, wow, that was that, you know, young kid from back then, again, a decade later. But Dad was in the business, so it was sort of a bit of a family affair in those early days. Yeah?
That's it, yeah. When I started the business, I got him on board to assist me with preparing things and just as a right-hand man, really, getting everything set up because he has a wealth of experience.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, good stuff. And so I guess the first thing I wanted to ask is, what are some of the overall big rocks, if you want to call them that, the big picture items, that if an agent was looking for the Red Howe of their area, because again, every home seller that is considering selling a property has got the choice of probably 100 real estate agents, and they can't all be the best. They can't, even though they'll say, because they'll all say they're great, and they'll all say they can get the job done, most money, quickest time, and all of that. How do we differentiate the talkers of the talk versus the ones who actually can deliver on those promises?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel that first and foremost, it comes down to your sales history, especially in the certain areas that we specialise in. We're extremely transparent with all our online sales. It's all there in black and white for people to see. And our clients like that. They like that we don't talk the talk, we actually walk the walk, as the old saying goes. And with regards to sort of the best bit of seller's advice from the get-go for us is property presentation. If they were to list with us, from the get-go, we give them a full checklist called the Ultimate Seller's To-Do List. And that's been accumulated from 10 years of doing this. So what that checklist will allow the seller to do prior to any online advertising, it will only help their property's presentation, and there will be not as much haggling with buyers if a home is presented 10 out of 10. If they come in and they see chips on the wall and things that are marked all around the house and things that are not working, some buyers like to hang on to that and try and beat me down on price. Whereas if we can completely eliminate that from the get-go, and our sellers can work as a team with us and go through this checklist, we can, you know, ensure we get the best price for the property.
So I love that you're sort of taking, you know, a decade of experience with varying outcomes, and you almost pick the greatest hits that a seller can do to present their property in the best way. So certainly we want an agent, if we were looking, say one of our viewers was looking for an agent over in Sydney, they'd want to find an agent with that sort of a checklist. What else though? Because I know that you've become one of the best marketers I've ever seen in real estate. It's magnificent. Tell us about the importance of marketing and how an agent should be, because again, there's some agents that their idea of marketing is chuck it up on a website and hope. Whereas, so what are some of the critical things that one of our viewers could be on the lookout for to find a good marketer? Because every real estate agent says they're a good marketer, and I can tell you, and I'm sure you know, not all are walking that talk. Many are just talking it without knowing a thing about what to do with marketing. So tell us about the importance there.
Yeah, so it's actually interesting you brought that up, Glenn, because when I started in the industry, it was very newspaper orientated with regards to putting a property in by a deadline date. So it's in the home open planner in the paper for that weekend. Whereas because I grew up sort of, I'm deemed a younger agent in the industry. I grew up in that social media era where everything for us was social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Twitter, you name it, that's something that I've grown up with. So that became second nature to me. So even back in the day when I did start my career, I was even suggesting it back then. And now a lot of our marketing is driven through social media, especially Facebook, sponsored advertising, Instagram. A lot of our clients follow our pages. And that's just another sort of additional marketing tool as to your standard realestate.com, all your major sort of online real estate websites, especially YouTube videos these days. We find those so beneficial because videographers can really capture a home's true potential. We put that on YouTube. If we've got interstate buyers or even international buyers, we send them the link, and it's quite incredible what they can, see on a video link these days.
Yeah, it's certainly not like the days where agents would take their own photos on a little Instamatic camera and then, throw them up and kind of hope. Is now that the world, now more than ever before, with the world addicted to social media, literally, certainly in the last couple of years, everyone is on it. And yet the amount of agents you don't see with effective saturation type advertising within the social media platforms, it's criminal, but all the best that when our viewers can find an agent like yourself that's mastered the use of those platforms for advertising purposes, that's where you start to really show that the dollars that you charge to represent them not only cover your own fee, but get them a profit as well with more eyeballs.
That's it. Yeah, more people view the property. And sometimes when I look at our social media campaigns versus the major online real estate portals, our social media campaigns far outweigh, the traditional real estate online portals, which surprises me. But I think, unfortunately, that is the way of the future. The newspapers have kind of, gone quiet, but with regards to social media now, everyone's on it. Everyone's on their phone. Everyone's checking social media almost every day. If we can tap into their mindset that, hey, this property's for sale, then I think we've had a win. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing, though? You say everyone's on social media, and it's true, they are, except the real estate agents. I cannot believe how... It does amaze me, and again, I don't want to disparage an industry that I'm a part of, but I just can't believe how lacking they are in the technical ability in the grand scheme of things. And I love that there are exceptions like you out there that are serving those home sellers by getting those properties at the cheapest per eyeball rate in the history of advertising. And yet most, 9 out of 10 agents are saying they're doing a great job on social media, and unfortunately they don't even know that they're not.
Yeah,
because they're just throwing it up on their personal profile or something like that.
Exactly.
2 people are liking it, them and their PA.
Yep.
And none of the consumers. It's insane. So mate, credit to you for embracing that. Do you think, though, is that because of your, again, historic youth? Because now with 10 years in, you're no longer a young agent, you're a bloody veteran. But do you think, why aren't the other agents embracing it so passionately, given that on a cost per eyeball basis, it beats radio, TV, newspaper, magazines, it beats everything?
Yeah, so I think it's a good question again, but for myself, I invested in myself on the education with regards to social media from the very get-go, along with having sort of the upbringing in the social media era. So I think that combined has only helped me more so than sort of the traditional agents. And then that sort of ties in as well with regards to even our company. It's completely mobile. It's up in the cloud. Again, a generation that I grew up in, a lot of things are in the cloud now. So that's how we operate.
Yeah, and again, what I love about that is resources that would, financial resources primarily, that the commission normally paid to an agent that goes to supplement exorbitant rents and exorbitant cost of advertising in newspapers with $20,000 a page. All of those resources that you don't have to spend on those wasteful assets, you can get to put into the assets that make a difference in the bottom line of a home seller.
That's exactly right, and I think that's why a lot of clients are attracted to our company, simply because of the fact that we do not have these crazy old school traditional overheads. We've completely eliminated them. So that in turn means that we can keep our selling fees very competitive, and we put those savings straight onto the consumer, the seller. And our sellers love it. They love it. It saves a bit more in their pocket, grouped with the 10, 11 years of experience selling Perth real estate.
Yeah, so again, that's what our consumers should be on the lookout for, an agent.
100%.
Because all agents are not created equal, especially now more than ever before.
Correct.
It's a whole new ball game in advertising and getting the job done, because anyone can sell a property, can't. Actually, let me ask you this. What's the future of the role of a real estate agent? Given that there are ways that a home seller could sell it themselves. They can stick a sign up themselves, and there are even companies that allow them to do so.
For sure.
Tell me about the future. Do we even need a real estate agent now?
Yeah, I honestly believe that we'll always need a real estate agent. The only reason why I say that is because I know how conflicting it can be dealing with a buyer, and I know how conflicting it can be dealing with one of our sellers. Both buyer and seller will always have a different opinion on price with the subject property. And I think being that middleman, we try and negotiate the most we can out of a buyer, obviously, but actually coming back to our sellers and saying this is the best price that we're going to be able to achieve for your property. When it's a buyer-seller direct interaction, I've even had people that have unsuccessfully tried to sell their own home come to me after, and they've just said to me, we've just personally felt so insulted by some of the offers that buyers actually just said straight to our face, and we didn't know how to deal with that. So in real estate, I feel that the middleman will always be a requirement, simply to soften blows on both ends. You know, coming back to a buyer and saying you've got 3 to 5 offers on this property and you're only one of them. You know, what are you going to do with your current sort of offered price? You know, we like to put that pressure on the buyer. A seller straight to a buyer and say 5 other offers, it's going to be very hard for them to do that. I mean, it's just got to be a good negotiation, really.
Well, and that's the other half of the equation. I mean, your marketing mastery, that's certainly one of the things our people should be looking for, is a marketing master, primarily with a social media focus, with video, with high quality photography and all of those things. That's the first half of that equation. Then the second half of the equation, to make sure that our sellers are getting value for their costs, you know, 100%. Whether it's agents' commissions or the advertising cost. You know, because again, the old days where the agent would come in and spend $20,000 of the consumer's money on newspaper advertising, if that agent is still out there offering that, to me, that's just totally unethical, because it's not getting them value.
Exactly.
So if one half of that equation is marketing and the second half is negotiation, if you ask any of those agents, those 100 agents that our viewer has the choice of, they'll all say they're the best negotiator in the game. How do we find the one that is versus the one that says they are?
I think the one that say they are, simply if you look at their track record. If you look, as I said before, if you go back to, you know, recently sold properties by you in this specific area or surrounding areas, you'll see black and white how true they are to their word. I think that sort of separates us from a lot of the people that say they're this, that and the other. We simply direct all our sellers to our recent sales with video testimonials, written testimonials from our sellers, and it's all in black and white, Glenn. So we just straight up tell them, look, we're not here to, you know, tell you something that you don't want to hear. This is who we are, and we lay it all out on the table and try and be as honest as we can from the get-go to start building that initial trust with the seller, so then it leads to a longer lasting relationship.
Yeah, and I love it. The ones that, you know, from your track record, certainly I've done my research just ahead of this interview to see how you've been travelling since those years, and your reputation is certainly well deserved by the people out there singing your praises. So it's certainly working very, very well.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So I'm not sure if I saw it in an article you wrote, or maybe it was in another interview, but I saw something that you said the number one piece of advice you got back in the day when you started off. What was that, and how is that translated into your current business that you're running?
Yeah, so when I started back in the day during my real estate traineeship, I was working for the director of a small boutique company. He was very hard on me with regards to honesty, transparency and communication. He drummed those 3 things into me from the get-go, and he said, if you do those 3 things right, you'll have a long-lasting career in real estate. And I couldn't agree with him more, because honesty with sellers, we don't like to sugarcoat things. We like to say, this is where a buyer's at, this is where the market's at, what would you like to do? With regards to transparency, once again, it comes back to all the conditions on the offer. You see everything in black and white, so that you can actually run through everything that's in front of you. And the last thing is communication. So for us, that is probably my most important thing, something that I like to pride myself on. So if we do a home open on a weekend, come the Monday, you hear from me every week, regardless. I don't go walkabouts, and you don't hear from me for a few weeks, because that's how the industry used to be.
Yeah, well, the number one, we did a survey of the consumers out there, and the number one criticism of which there are many, but
Oh,
the
yes.
number one criticism of the industry of real estate agents is lack of communication.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Say I came to an open house, because again, I'm trying to arm our potential sellers who are looking to figure out in that eeny, meeny, miny, mo of real estate agents how to choose one with competence that they know.
Yep.
Given if none of them stand out already, then they need some criteria. Yep. So say we visit a real estate agent at an open home, and then we just say, well, we're just having a bit of a look, and then we go. What level of communication, because I'm sure, I know from the research we've done, sometimes they'll hear nothing and never hear anything, to just be completely ignored and even made to feel unwelcome. And at the other end of the spectrum, they're being stalked and annoyed, and literally it feels like they've got a new family member that's just, you know. What would be the ideal amount of communication in that particular example, so our viewers have got a way to go out and maybe secret shop some real estate agents so they can start to find one that has some of those elements?
Yeah, for sure. It's actually a really good question, because back when I started, my boss actually told me to secret shop other agents to see how they operated. And how I've been trained is that anyone that comes through the front door, we take name, number, email. Now we've got an app in our phone that will text them an e-brochure straight to their phone. So A, we know that we've got their real phone number. And also it gives them a full brochure breakdown on what the property is that we're actually selling. That's probably one of our key features at the moment. As soon as the home opens completed, they'll get a SMS from us that just states, here's my contact details. If you have any questions, please let us know. And then we'll follow up with one phone call and then another text message. After that, if they don't get back to us, we know they're obviously not interested in the property. And then anyone that is interested in the property, obviously we get them back through the home or help them with any questions that they have immediately.
So that sort of sweet spot, in your opinion, again, the proof's in the pudding with the results a mile long, it's probably 2 or 3 communication points in the subsequent 2 or 3 or 4 days.
That's the sweet spot. That's, I think, anything, you know, if they don't get back to you for, say, sort of 3 days, they're obviously not interested in the property. So then we obviously, we stand back.
And similarly, the agent that doesn't get back to the consumers at all, or not in a timely manner, the you know, our viewer could make the assumption potentially that, okay, how bad do they want it? How efficient are their systems? And all of those things, that if they were to engage that agent, they're either going to be, you know, not have the systems and the skills and all of that to do the job well, or they're just going to go too far and blow their... Imagine if they became like stalkers. That shows the desperation, and that is hardly going to be conducive to getting a premium price for that seller. So I reckon you're right on that sweet spot there. Yeah, cool, man. All right, so I suppose the last thing, and now here's where I get a bit cheeky, I do have at my disposal a copy of your book, Bud, Profit from Property. I love it. Redmond's Real Estate Roadmap to Selling Your Home for More. I love it. Congratulations, mate, on the publishing. Now, here's where I get cheeky. Any chance I can grab a copy for our viewers? And now, how much are we going to avoid here? Are we avoiding 1995 AU or NZ 29.95? Are we going to save our viewers $30, are we?
That's it. That's exactly right. We can give a copy to, you know, the viewers if they want one.
Oh, thank you, my man. So again, even if you aren't sort of in the suburbs of Perth, if you're anywhere around Australia and you're after a copy of Red's book, the URL is right there. That we've got some copies for you. So if you'd like a copy on us, or really on Red, put your details in there and we'll make sure we get a copy of it to you, so you can see many of the tactics, the tips and tricks from one of Perth's most prominent real estate figures, Redmond Howe, to ensure you sell your home for top dollar. So avail yourself of that freebie there. So, sir, congratulations on a decade of success. And mate, and here's to giving your youth another couple of decades in it for you, mate. And another couple of thousand people helped in your region, mate. So congratulations, mate.
Appreciate it, Glenn. Thanks for having me on.
No worries.
Cheers.
And another episode of Real Estate Experts in the Can. As always, I'm your host, Glenn Twiddle, and for Redmond Howe, signing off until next time. Bye for now.
Come with me if you want to invest.